You definitely caught me off guard in my own show because I was trying to be modest today, okay?
Bitch, please. I'm from Brazil.
You know what they say about nerdy Brazilians, right?
A lot of sockets actually look like they're sad. They look like they're heartbroken.
You were on time today, so you're not living up to that name right now.
There's no such thing as the right time. So at some point, you gotta just take the leap.
The common denominator there is that the intention was behind and the intention was pure.
That sadness can be for nothing. I gotta make something out of it.
Welcome to Unshut, a place where if at any point you feel like you need to shut the up, don't. Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me well? I just realized I lost my left AirPod, so it's a little annoying.
You probably feel a little bit off, huh?
I do, honestly. I don't think I'm mature enough to own AirPods. It's not the first time I lose an earbud, I'll tell you that.
Well, you sound good, you look good, it's bright, looking good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You too.
Thank you so much. How's your day been so far?
It's been great. Just had some great sushi for lunch. How about you?
Doing good. I definitely did not have sushi for lunch, but what kind of sushi did you get?
I got a lot of salmon sushi, sashimi, some nigiri, a little bit of everything. I've been cutting my tuna intake because of mercury poisoning. I've been eating too much sushi, dude. Too much sushi.
So funny because I was just telling my trainer today, I'm like, I love sushi, but California roll sushi, I don't do the real stuff.
Right. Now, California roll, I mean, they look pretty healthy, so that's never a bad option.
Definitely not a bad option, but I wanted to ask you real quick, how are you dealing with the heat in New York City right now? Because it's pretty warm. You surviving?
Oh, dude, I've been hanging in there. So I think that because I'm from Brazil originally, that's where my accent comes from, by the way. I think my body is kind of used to the humidity and the heat in general, but it doesn't make it as smooth as I thought it would. Because I remember before moving to New York City, people would tell me, "Hey, you get ready for the summer in New York. It's gonna be pretty hot." And I was like, "Bitch, please, I'm from Brazil. Like this is not gonna be a problem at all." But no, it is a problem. It really is. Yesterday, I actually went to Coney Island. I have a friend in town, and she just wants to do like all those touristy things. So it was actually a massive heat wave down at Coney Island, but we had a good time.
Would you say that because you are from Brazil, you look forward to like the crazy winters? Because I love the cold. I'm ready for it.
That's a great question. I think that I didn't grow up with four seasons. So moving here, it was the first time ever that I actually got to experience, like 3 months of each very, very unique relationship with the city. And honestly, I love that. I'd say that like most New Yorkers, when February comes, we all had enough of the winter, and the good thing about having family in Brazil is that whenever Christmas comes, I just fly down there, and it's summer down there, so I get a little break from the winter. But overall, I love the fall in New York. The trees get so beautiful, and I also enjoy the winter. I just wish it was like 1 month shorter. That's what I would say.
Dude, hell yes. I mean, listen, I live for all the options too. My family's from Guatemala, so it's nice to have those tropical places to escape to. You know what I mean?
Exactly, exactly.
Yes. Well, before we get started in talking about all of the music stuff that I've got so much I want to jump right in with you, I want to start by talking about the separation between the artist and your first name, right? Because I live for this separation. I love when artists do this, but why late again? You were on time today, so you're not living up to that name right now.
Oh, thank you. I've been trying to fix my reputation on this, but it's not always the case. I'm very often late to things, and I think the name kind of works on both a metaphorical level and also on a literal level. The energy behind that name really speaks to my personality, but also to the kind of music that I make. When I was recording my first demos, people would tell me that some songs were kind of woozy, kind of down tempo, and I don't know. I think that late again kind of evokes that energy on a more sonic level, but also as far as like the music career goes, I've always had the feeling that I've been a little late to parties in general, mostly because I mean it's my fault usually, but when I realize it's already too late to get to the party, and I mean it both on a Friday night and also like on the broader party of life. Late Again was supposed to become a thing maybe like 5 years before it actually did. I've been saving those songs for so long, and I was waiting for the right time, and I was overthinking and I was holding it back, Yeah, it just sounded fitting, I guess. So yeah, I'm glad that you didn't think I was late today, and I'll try to be more punctual as time moves forward.
Amazing. Well, listen, I didn't tell your management this, but I was instantly in love with the name Late Again because to me, I've talked about this on the show a lot about how I perceive being a late bloomer as such a blessing in disguise. I feel like I've been a late bloomer in all aspects of my life, but it's crazy because I feel like there's a level of wisdom that comes to taking all of these adventurous parts of your life and doing them with a level of wisdom. And I can't imagine what my life would have been had I have done choreography at a much younger age or done the podcast at a much younger age. So listen, being late to the party is my fucking jam, okay?
I love that. That's so nice to hear. And I really hope you're right. I think that in some parts of my life, I've always wanted to be the first to do things. And I've wanted to be, like, especially in school, I was kind of nerdy and I wanted my dad to be proud of me and I wanted to be like ahead in the game. But I've realized that, especially for the things that are really special to me, I've always hesitated before actually putting myself out there, and I've always waited for the right time for things to happen. And what you realize when you grow older is that there's no such thing as the right time. So at some point you gotta just take the leap. But you're totally right. I think that if I had started late again when I was 17 or 18 years old, I would have made so many mistakes and all the songs would have sucked, I think. I look back at, I had a band when I was like 15, 16, and when I look back at it, I had a great time. It basically shaped my upbringing in many ways, but I'm so glad that nobody knows what those songs are and they'll never listen to it if it's up to me. So
Amazing. Something I'm coming to a conclusion as I'm hearing you say this is that it's also such a powerful thing because as late as I've always been to the party, I've also been the first of very many in my family. I was the first one to do performing arts as a career. I was the first one to start a company from the ground up in my family. So it's funny how we consider ourselves late bloomers, right? We're always late to the party, and yet somehow because you're doing it true to who you are and true to yourself, you're still somewhat ahead of the game. And so I'm realizing that by hearing you talk. So thank you for that realization for sure.
oh, that's awesome to hear that, and congrats, by the way. Those, I mean, generational heritage is always a complex thing, and I relate to that myself. I'm the first person in my family to ever, move abroad and start from scratch somewhere new. So I definitely relate to what you're saying. I'm also, I guess, a lot of therapy helps with that. I've been trying to understand my relationship with being late because when you think about being late, the first thing that comes to mind is that you're a slacker. You're like you're aloof. You're not like you don't have your head in the game. But I don't think that's the case for me, and it sounds like it's not the case for you as well. For me, it's more like sometimes I'm so obsessed with things that I hesitate, and I've been trying to get over that like paralysis that comes with like the overwhelming amount of things that crosses your mind. But I do think that there is like something sincere about being late that anyone can relate to, really, on one level or another.
100%. I couldn't have said it any better. And since we're talking about, our impressions and whether we consider them late or not, I want to talk about the time when you were 13 is when you started to dabble into music. And you said that you wrote lame songs to get the sadness out. How quickly did you realize something so innocent and naive would become monumental for you? So you started at 13, but when did it hit you that writing and being sad in your room was going to become a huge part of you, if that makes any sense?
That's a great question. So first of all, I don't come from a artsy family at all. Again, we are talking about being the first in some things, like making music. I'm definitely the first in my family to like actually take music seriously. Like my dad is like a civil engineer. He's like a very like uptight person. He's not artsy at all. Although he likes what I'm doing now. When I was growing up, he was very strict. Like he hated the idea of me getting a guitar and stuff like that. He forbid me from having a band. So I was like, and at the same time, there's always the teenage rebellion energy of like doing that stuff anyway. And I would even say that the friction actually inspired me to be more persistent on it. But when I first got dumped, I was 13. You probably remember the first time you got dumped. It's so painful. You think it's the worst thing ever, and you've never felt anything like it before. And you're corny because your references are corny. You're 13, like you're listening to, I don't know, whatever the TV is telling you to listen to. And I started writing music just because what I figured was that sadness can be for nothing. You know, I got to make something out of it. And funny enough, this is the most powerful thing that I've learned in my life. Whenever I have like a dance feeling, I always try to make something out of it, or else it's just in vain. You're not building anything from the negativity. So I made songs for a couple of years. I got this old guitar from an uncle that passed away. I never actually played it. And I remember the first time I played a chord, I was like, holy shit, I can actually make something with my hands. I didn't know that this was a thing that anyone could do, you know? In my mind, artists were such a distant thing. And I didn't know that it was this easy to play a chord in a guitar. I was like, holy shit, I can actually make something. That was a very special moment. And I think that I really encourage everyone, even if you don't love music that much, I think everyone should have the experience of playing an instrument because it is a very therapeutic thing. And I've done that for a couple of years. Then when I turned 15 or maybe 16. Yeah, 15 actually. I almost died. I caught the swine flu, if you remember that.
Oh my God.
And I almost died. I'm one of the 5 people that almost died of that shit. And and I remember being at the hospital, like doing nothing for 15 days at the ICU. And I was like, I started writing songs in my head. And it's interesting because for a 15-year-old, I guess it's a level of density that most 15-year-olds don't have. So I consider that a privilege, especially because I survived, by the way. If I had died, it would have sucked. But since I'm alive, that was cool. So I wrote some songs while I was in there. And when I got out, a friend of mine he wasn't my friend yet, but he visited for like, I don't know, there was a house party or something. And I played one of the songs to him and he was so stoked about it. And he eventually became the drummer of our band. And I owe everything to him because he was such like an easily excitable person, you know, like he would be stoked about anything. And I was very insecure at the time. So if it wasn't for him, Lucas, I don't think I'd ever have actually realized how important music would be for me. Because then after he became my drummer and we started the band, my whole personality became being a musician during my teenage years. We all need to cling to something, you know, like whether it is like a sports or music or whatever it is. And for me, it was having a band. And that band lasted from the time I was 15 until maybe when I was 20. I guess. So it was a fun run.
So amazing. I feel like it speaks a lot of volumes to realize that because you honed in on this outlet, you've been able to make so many connections that have become monumental to your life. And I think that that speaks so much volumes to just what it means to do something that lets you get whatever it is you're holding in and letting it out, whether it's creatively or not. But I think that it speaks a lot of volumes that you have been able to turn all of these negative experiences into something so positive. And because of that, it's almost like the universe has a clever way of rewarding you for taking those leaps of faith, if that makes any sense. I love it so much.
I really hope so. I really hope that's the case. And that's something that I always tell my friends. When we are sad, when we are depressed, it's very easy to just get stuck in a loop of sadness. And for me, at least, my coping mechanism is trying to build something out of it. And of course, sometimes you just want to be in bed and it's okay. It's also important to feel things. But, you know, if you don't like making music, just paint something or write a corny entry on your diary, whatever it is. I think it is important to find an outlet or else you're just repressing all those feelings. And I don't know. I feel like the universe wants us to experiment with our feelings more than that.
Totally. Listen, speaking of corny journal entries or anything like that, have you held on to any of those things that you created back when you were 13? And have you ever thought about revisiting those as late again, if that makes any sense?
That's also a great question and a very fun one. Definitely not the lyrics. I don't think I would ever use those lyrics again. They're so corny. And but it has crossed my mind the idea of alluding to those songs and maybe parodying myself. It's as an inside joke because nobody's gonna know. But this has occurred to me. I do have a song. The song's called Ick from my previous EP, and the melody that started this song, actually I wrote it when I was maybe 19 and I revisited it like a few years later, several years later. It ended up becoming this new song called Ick. The lyrics are different, but I remember I was like trying to find some new inspirations and I found my old voice memos on my phone and I just started listening to them and I was like, you know what, this is not that bad. There's something there, you know? And if you think about all those geniuses from past generations, a lot of their great shit was written when they were young, like maybe 19, 20, 21. So why not give yourself a second chance?
Absolutely. Give those old corny pieces a second win. I love it so much. So listen, if you
I
ever
guess so.
do, let me know. I would love to be the first to hear some of it, okay?
Well, dude, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Of course. Well, listen, you talked about your musical influences before, and I love that you talked about MTV. So I've been dying to ask you this. If TRL made a comeback in 2026, who would be at the number one spot right now?
Oh wow. I'm gonna open my Spotify here and see the latest things I've been listening to. This is always a hard question because I've been all over the place lately. I just came back from a Japan trip a few weeks ago, and I've been listening to a lot of Japanese music. So I would say that it would probably be something from Japan. I'll say Yellow Magic Orchestra, which is they're from the 80s, not fresh at all, but they're making a comeback, especially in the United States. I think that a lot of new artists are actually revisiting this like vintage electronic music that they used to make. Ryuichi Sakamoto is a big influence of mine. And yes, last month, Yellow Magic Orchestra was my top one artist.
Dude, such a good answer. That was so good.
Thank you. That one caught me off guard, but thank you. You're too nice.
Well, I'm here to catch you off guard a couple more times, okay?
Looking forward to it.
The next one I have for you is, first of all, do you remember the network VH1 and the show that they used to have called Pop-Up Videos?
So I think so. Again, the problem is all those, I mean, VH1 and MTV had the Brazilian versions of those shows that you're referring to. Can you explain to me exactly how that show went?
I would love to explain it to you because it's such a throwback for me and it's one of my
Oh,
favorites.
please.
So, when I was little, they used to have this show called Pop-Up Videos on VH1. They would play whatever music video they were playing, but during the music video, they would have little pop-up memos that would come up, like fun facts about the music video. So, for example, it would go
Right.
to like a scene of someone at the beach and it would say this music video was filmed in Cancun, Mexico. So, that was the
Right.
pop-up part of the music video. So, what would be a fun fact about any of the videos that you've made that you'd like to share today?
Okay. So let's talk about the latest one for If You Have a Bridge, I'm Buying. This is one of my favorite music videos. And I guess one of the reasons it is my favorite, it's because of the story behind it. Because it wasn't even supposed to be a music video at all. It was like a last minute thing. I was literally just winging it. So If You Have a Bridge, I'm Buying is a song about New York in a way. It's about ambition, but about chasing dreams in the big city, anywhere in the world. But it was inspired by New York City. So I spent 3 months in Brazil this winter. And when I came back, I really wanted to document my life in New York more. So I bought this very stupid camera and I put it on my forehead. I have a picture of that. I can send it to you. And I looked so stupid. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a city bike and I'm going to bike across New York City for days just filming everything and seeing what will come out of it. And I biked for 100 miles in total. And I just had one of those GoPro types of cameras. And I just drove around town. I remember that everywhere that I was biking, people would smile and laugh at my face because it was pretty stupid. But it was so fun to like see the city through those lenses, just like actually exploring it, trying to find like a weird corner or something that would be cinematically curious. I've managed to find some very interesting loopholes in the city. So yeah, so then I got this like dozens of hours of material and I sent it to Gabriel, a friend of mine, very talented visual artist. I was like, dude, there's a lot of footage in here. Please make this look pretty for me. And yeah, it was the cheapest music video I've ever recorded and one of the ones I'm the most proud of. So I guess that's a silly one.
Dude, are you kidding me? Another good answer. I love the lore that comes behind the creative processes. And this is why I wanted to ask you about that, which, by the way, that's one of my favorite songs right now. I am obsessed with it, but we're going to talk about it a little bit later, okay?
Awesome.
The next one I have for you is, first of all, we're talking about all this nostalgic stuff, right? Did you see that MySpace may be coming back?
Is that a thing? I didn't know that. Oh shit.
Yes, apparently
Oh, that's
Tom
cool.
made a statement in saying that he's going to be putting it back out either at the end of 2026 or early 2027. And I'm excited. I'm a little stressed out about who my top eight are going to be, but listen, I'm super excited.
That's amazing. I caught the end of the MySpace era when I had my first band at 14, 15. It started on MySpace. And again, it was the end of MySpace. I guess it endured like for 2 more years before we all switched to Facebook and all that. But I love that you could like customize your page, you could pick your colors and the whole like, like biggest fan thing. It's such a nostalgic thing for me.
Yeah, so my question to you is, if MySpace were to make a comeback and we were to customize the page, which one of your songs would be perfect to go on a MySpace profile?
Thinking about it from a musical perspective, I would say If You Have a Bridge, I'm Buying, because I think it is one of my favorite songs right now. So I think it's a good welcome card. Like if you want to understand what Late Again is about, I think this song really covers it. But if I'm talking about the MySpace T and the whole lore, because MySpace is not only about music, it's also about, like having your crushes and all that stuff. So for that purpose, I would also pick All My Exes Moved to the Countryside. And hopefully I'll add All My Exes to my MySpace page and we can all have like a nostalgic get together.
That's right. Go and reminiscing on the good times, not the fact that they became exes, but the good times, right?
Yeah, they're all friends. I never had like a dirty, awful breakup in my life. Thank God. I can't stay, but I'll give you a ride. Watch cows and kids and plans passing me by. I tell myself, looking in your eyes, I like to think I don't have a type. But all my exes moved to the countryside.
So good to hear. I love that. I wanted to ask you, you're also a video game designer. Is the name Sad Socket in relation to the sad 13-year-old you?
Not at all, but maybe I should ask my therapist. I didn't think about it before, but who knows? We just wanted something that was a little cynical and charismatic at the same time. And I don't know, if you look at a socket, a lot of sockets actually look like they're sad. They look like they're heartbroken. And it just felt funny to actually incorporate that into the our label, our video game label as we call it.
Dude, that is so hilarious because it's so true. They literally look like faces. So funny.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Nine Kings is the game, correct? Is that one? That's one of the games that you've developed, right?
Yeah, so now we're developing a few different projects. Some of them are more artsy, some of them are actually related to music, which is something that I'm really excited about, but it's going to take a couple of years to actually see daylight. But Nine Kings is actually the game that got successful out of nowhere. It was supposed to be a silly little like pocket game that we were doing for fun, like a mobile game. Like it wasn't supposed to be anything at all. If you take a look at it, you'll see that it's not particularly like conceptually artistic. It's just like a cute, funny little game, very colorful, very ironic. That's how it came to be. But one night we woke up, it had gone viral. We don't know why. And that was crazy. It was very unexpected to me. And that's how we realized, okay, maybe this studio can actually be a thing. Maybe let's make other projects and actually expand on this whole story.
Well, I like that you mentioned doing something in the future with music because that was going to be my next question. I noticed that you obviously like to keep things separate, right? Your first name to your stage name or your video games to who you are. And I was curious if those worlds would ever collide. And so you mentioned music. When did that start to come into play? Has that always been in the back of your head, or is this something that's freshly being developed, if that makes sense?
That's also a great question. And I think it's been a fresh thought because I usually struggle to introduce myself to people. I guess, especially in a place like New York City, I guess the question, what do you do, is always something that comes up. And because of my ADHD brain and the fact that I do like a lot of random things at once, I kind of find it hard to explain and to have some consistency in what I do. And I also worry that people will just think like, okay, he's just a guy that wings a bunch of shit and doesn't do anything right. That's definitely not the impression that I want to give people. Everything that I do, I try to do it very seriously. And what I've come to realize recently is that all those things, although they're like very different from each other, they're really helping me improve as an artist overall. Because and all those things, they serve different purposes inside my brain, and it also serves as they serve as outlets for different emotions. I'd say the video game thing was again just supposed to be a casual thing for fun that I did with my childhood best friend who lives in Brazil still. During the pandemic, we were having a beer and we were like, dude, we're grown-ups now. We have some money. Why don't we do this thing that we wanted to do when we were dorks and 12 years old? And we downloaded all the softwares to actually make a game. But we were 12. We didn't know what we were doing. We couldn't make anything work. We were like, yeah, let's give it a go. And we did it. But I never thought that it would be such an important part of my life. So I never actually thought about the Late Again branding whatsoever. And but as Late Again grows, I'm starting to realize that those are all like separate entities, and I would love if they could collide in a cool way, in a way that I'm proud of. You also mentioned that I try to separate my personal life from Late Again, and I think you're totally right. I think a lot of solo artists do that. For me, it was definitely a necessity because I was too self-aware to use my own name or to tell everyone that it's me up on stage. It's Late Again. It's not me. You make up a character. You're a choreographer, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You just embrace the role that you give yourself, and that's the person that you see up on stage. It's not Raphael. So Late Again became its own entity, then Set Socket became its own entity, and I also I have like I don't know, I have this, I would say, like successful career in the creative industry as a creative director and screenwriter. I was very lucky. I had to sell my soul to pay the bills, but it was super fun, like to work in advertising for almost 10 years. Like you get to meet so many talented people, directors that now work with me. You get to work with, brands like Nike. I was the creative director for like Sprite, Hennessy, a bunch of different random brands that are not like something that I'm proud of to have worked on, but it's definitely something that I'm grateful for because not only they paid the bills, but they also taught me a lot about resilience and about how to make something artistically interesting. Because in the end of the day, a lot of people in that industry, they're all like artists that need to pay the bills as well.
Well, once
So
again, there you are, making something positive out of something that you wouldn't necessarily consider completely or entirely positive, if that makes sense.
100%, yeah. And I guess now I'm realizing that my answer is all over the place. Maybe because this whole career thing is a little all over the place. But to answer your initial question, and sorry I digressed, I think that yes, making the video game world and the music world converge would be a super cool thing. I would say that a lot of people still think that when you think about video games, a lot of people still have this idea that it's a very dorky thing. It can be sexy, it can be artistically valuable. And I'd like to challenge that notion. I'd love to make something that could, again, as you said, like make both worlds collide. So that's what I'm thinking about. And hopefully, I don't know, 2028, I think I'll have something cool. I'd love to make something that also is bigger than myself, that could actually help the industry at such bleak times. Maybe other artists could hop on board and we could all do something that is cool. So yeah, something along those lines, I guess.
Well, it's funny you say dorky because you know what they say about nerdy Brazilians, right?
I don't. What do they say? What are they saying about me?
I'm actually not going to say it because let me tell you something, Rafa. I be saying some ho shit on this show, but I'm feeling a little modest
No,
right now,
please.
okay?
No, please. You told me that this show is supposed to make us uncomfortable. Please, now you got to tell me.
Okay, you're not wrong, but they say nerds are hung. So there you go.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll take it. I won't agree nor deny the statement, but well, I'm glad. I hope that's true for everyone.
Well, you definitely caught me off guard in my own show because I was trying to be modest today, okay?
No, that's great. Honestly, this is a safe space. I mean, it's your space, but I'm feeling safe in it. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that so much. And I'm also glad that you mentioned, something like creative directing and just, all the things that you're doing creatively. And I've been dying to ask you about this. Does Nine Kings have potential to ever become a film in the future. And I ask you this because now in this modern world, so many video games, Resident Evil, they're all being turned into movies, right? Does it have
I love
legs
that
to do
question.
that?
Yeah, I love that question. And specifically talking about Nine Kings, I've actually been working on the side whenever I have the time on a little TV show Bible for it. I don't think Nine Kings would be a cool movie per se, but I definitely think an animation TV show would be on the table. It's something that I personally have been thinking about a lot. Again, I love writing in general. I'm mainly a musician, but I love telling stories regardless of the media we're talking about, you know? Yes, I would love to turn it into, like an animation series. It's something that I'm working on actively. And I think that the game is, as I told you before, the game is kind of shallow. It's supposed to be a little mini game, but there's something about it that is very interesting. The whole lore behind like that there is this world where everything runs in nines, like it's nine kings and there are nine countries and you have nine cars and everything is nine in the game. That's the whole running joke. And I think it could be a very interesting political TV show, about like how in this world every story has nine sides and kind of like a Game of Thrones-esque world where you don't know who you're rooting for. Everyone's an asshole, but everyone has their own reasons to be an asshole and actually makes you think about politics and propaganda and all that stuff. So it is something that I'm working on. I don't know if Hollywood would ever be interested in it, but I'm working on it. And I know some people in LA that would be curious to hear about it. If they give me the money for it, that's another question, but at least we can start a conversation.
Well, here's the thing. Everything Hollywood said that wouldn't be a success has always turned into the biggest success. Just saying. And also, Rafa, if fucking Angry Birds can be turned into any movie show,
You're
so
right.
can your show, okay? So can your
You're
game.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So yeah, fingers crossed the game keeps like growing as it moves forward. And who knows? I mean, honestly, everything so far has been totally unexpected. So I'm just open to whatever comes my way, and I'm very grateful.
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to see what comes out of it. We have to talk about your latest project, I Dreamt I Was Awake. It's out in September. Do you feel like there's been a different level of risk that you took with this project versus all your other EPs?
Yeah, it started off as this unpretentious bedroom lo-fi project, and it slowly gained some traction. People were interested. We started having conversations with promoters and labels, and all the different pieces that come along the journey. For this EP, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be a little more ambitious as far as the production goes. I'm gonna have a full band playing with me this time, like the old times. An amazing drummer, Thiago Dom, like he's an amazing drummer from Brazil, lives in New York as well. He's played with a lot of amazing artists here and in Brazil as well. I also have John Lizzy playing the bass, who's an amazing jazz player. He's very, very talented. And I guess just recording those layers and bringing different people's perspectives into the project was another level of creative production, I'd say. And it's something that I really missed because back in the day when I had a band, that's how everything worked. And for Late Again, it's been lonely most of the time. I have my music producer, Mura, who always mixes and helps me produce the tracks, but I didn't have a proper band. So this was definitely the first big change. And of course, I wouldn't say it's a risk, but it's definitely like a cost. You got to get studio time, you got to get logistics, you got to get a good analog system to make it sound the way you want. So it is a mild financial risk, I'd say. But then the bigger risk, artistically speaking, I'd say maybe was the lyrics. I try to be more blunt with those lyrics. And I just joked about All My Exes Moved to the Countryside, which is supposed to be a silly, funny little song, but it's also so, it exposes me in a very literal way, I've been coming to peace with the fact that I'm a silly guy and I don't like to take myself too seriously and I like to joke about things and I like to be transparent about things. So I wanted to embrace that whenever I write a song as well. So that's definitely a risk that I'm taking. There are a couple of songs that are kind of like spoken word. They're not out yet, but they're very, very vulnerable in many ways. It's me just talking and telling you a story with a lot of details and a lot of oversharing and in a very descriptive way, sometimes telling a little story as an observer, which is something that I haven't tried with Late Again yet. And I find it very interesting. There are some writers that I really like. For example, Sung Kyu Moon. I don't know if you've ever heard his music.
He's like this indie guy. He's been around for like 20 years, I guess. But he writes songs that are kind of awkward, and the lyrics are always very, very specific about a day in his life. And I just find that kind of writing so inspiring. A lot of Brazilian bossa nova, samba classics also are unpretentious in that way. So I've tried to explore that more. Spoken word is new to me. It makes me feel kind of silly when I'm recording because I'm like, oh, dude, when you have a melody, you can kind of hide yourself behind the melody and you can say whatever you want. When you're just saying words, it's like, dude, am I really gonna, wake up in the morning, go to a studio, turn on the mic and just say those words? Is this like wise enough? Is this interesting enough? So it's definitely been a risk. I don't know if people are gonna like it or not, but it's a very sincere song. It's called Every Time I Take Sudafed, and that was, I guess, the biggest risk of this EP.
So amazing. And I love that you used the word vulnerable because that's also something that's an emotional cost into this project because now you're sharing these vulnerable parts, creative parts about you with other collaborators, and you're not just depending on you to really bring it to life. You're depending on so many other collaborators. And I didn't think about that until you started to talk about these collaborators that you're collaborating with in this project. And I'm like, man, it really is such a vulnerable state of mind to be able to do so because you're not on your own anymore. So I feel like that alone is a risk. And I can't wait to hear it. I'm super excited for it. And I love spoken words that way because you're absolutely right. You cannot hide behind anything. There's something so vulnerable about someone's natural speech versus turning your speech into lyricism. It's so completely different. It's a completely different world, but I love it. So I'm excited about it.
Glad to hear that. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. And to your point, I think it's a trade-off. In a way, you have to be more vulnerable around more people, but it also means that you're not facing the world alone anymore, which is something that I really appreciate. I remember when I had a band, it was much harder to put stuff out there. Actually, it was much easier to put stuff out there because it was like four kids doing it together, and you press post and then you talk about it, you drink a beer and celebrate, and it would be your own little thing. When you're doing it by yourself, that's when I felt the most vulnerable, because you don't have like any way to validate your intuition. Sure, you always have some friends that you can rely on, but it's not the same thing. When you have a band, everyone has the same dream and they're sharing that ambition. It's not like asking a friend for an opinion and they're just being nice because they're your friend.
No, you're so right. And I feel like if there's anyone that's going to take wins from doing both angles, it's going to be someone like you because you're the perfect example of someone who's learned their entire life to take all sorts of experiences and creating something so positive out of it. So, regardless of which route you continue to go, I know it's going to be a growing path for you because that's just the type of person that you come off to be, someone that's being able to take something like swine flu, moving out of your country, all these fucking crazy stories, and still finding a way to create. Like, not everyone can do that. So, if there's anyone that's going to learn from these processes, it's 100% you. And obviously, we're talking about this new project that's coming out in September, but I know in another interview you've talked about eventually going back to like that old school way of doing like a full 12 track type of album. What would that sound like? Have you already started to kind of manifest and foreshadow what that experience would be like for Late Today or not?
100%. I think that
And
the
I'm sorry,
fact
not
that,
Late Today, late again. I'm sorry, I
oh
fucked it
no.
up.
No, I totally got it. But it also makes sense. I thought you were just calling me late. That's for my close friends. You don't need to say the whole thing, just late. Uh,
Amazing.
I think that making a proper album has been my ambition from day one. Back when I started Late Again, I debated if I would start with a full album before actually doing the EPs. If I could have it my way, I would have started with an album because I really like the idea of painting a bigger picture and telling a longer story and having like this whole world that you actually shape in 12 songs. But you also got to be pragmatic and realistic as far as the way the industry works and how things are happening these days. So first of all, nobody has the attention span to listen to full albums anymore unless they really care about you. So if nobody cares about you, why are you even like bothering? I would be lying if I told you that I'm making music only to make myself happy. That's not why I make music. I make music to connect with people. So I'm trying to find the best ways to connect with people with something that I'm proud of. So if I make something that I'm proud proud of, but nobody gives a shit, what's the point? I'll just write an essay, and that's gonna, fulfill that desire.
100%.
So basically, you gotta accept the reality of it. Like people, they like singles, and like with Instagram and TikTok, you gotta work individual songs, and until you build an audience and people actually wanna hear what you have to say. And I do think that I'm finally get to a point where enough people would be willing to listen to a longer story, which I'm really excited about. I already have, I don't know, a lot of songs that could make an album. I don't know exactly what the story of that album is going to be, but I would say that the next step for Lit Again is definitely a debut album. I also think it's important not to take your debut album for granted. You only can debut your music once. So I want to be very intentional about what I do, and I want to make sure that it really speaks to what I have to say. What I love about 12 songs is that you can be a little more, you can take more risks in a couple of them. You can experiment more. Not all of them need to be singles. We can try to tell again a more complex story. And again, I'd love to try to prove myself in that territory as well. So it is in the works. Hopefully 2027. We'll see how it works with our team and manager and labels and all that stuff. But hopefully next year.
Well, I cannot wait once you do start that entire process. And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your explanation about this, because something that I completely stand for is artists understanding that it's not about you connecting with your own art. It's when people start to see themselves in your art, when you realize that you did a very selfless type of act, if that makes any sense. And so the fact that you're talking about being so intentional, I get goosebumps and I get so excited to see what else you're going to be doing. And you're the type of person that I want to connect with for that reason, because it's not a very self-centered approach. It's an approach that's here to serve a bigger purpose than what we imagined, right? You never think that a little game you create when you're just doing it with your best friend could become something and then boom, it goes viral. But the common denominator there is that the intention was behind and the intention was pure. So I love that you share that. Thank you so much for explaining that. And listen, when you do start that process, keep me in mind. Okay. I want some spoilers. I want to hear some things.
100%. That's so nice of you, and I really appreciate the kind words. Yeah, I guess therapy helps when it comes to sorting out that stuff inside your heart. I think that it's very easy for an artist, myself included, to just pretend that you're making this only for yourself, and like, oh, I have my truth and this is my thing. And because I guess a lot of people think that if you don't position yourself that way, then you're being like superficial or narcissistic. You're looking for external validation only. And I don't know how you could ever dissociate music from external validation. It is a cathartic process, and you as a dancer as well as a choreographer, I think you definitely relate to that. It is not an individual process. And I know that, I mean, if you're successful enough, you can be a snob about it and you can like tell it like it is. I think that's awesome. It's awesome to have that kind of freedom, but I'll never take the listener out of the equation. I have things that I need to stand up for, and I'm never gonna like sell out my music and make things that I'm not proud of. But I gotta understand the bigger picture, I think. But it's sincere, again, sincere.
Well, in my opinion, you're doing a great job about it, and I am so glad that your music connected us. And so, thank you so much for your time today, dude. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you. And lastly, please tell everyone where they can stalk your life, where they can go and stalk this hunk Brazilian. I'm just kidding. I still can't believe you got me to say that on record. That's crazy.
Before I get to that, fun fact about my name. So Rafael Melo is a very cliche name in Brazil. Rafael, I guess there are like 800,000 Rafaels in Brazil. There's a website where you can check that out. And Melo is a generic last name. It's like John Smith, basically. So if you look up Rafael Melo in Brazil, there is an underwear model, a very hot and buff underwear model that has the same name as I have. So that's not me. If you Google Rafael Melo and you see an underwear model, that's not me. But anyway, so going back to what you said, thanks for having me. This was super fun. You're such a welcoming person, and thanks for making me feel comfortable, even when talking about hung Brazilians. That's part of it. And
Amazing.
if you wanna listen to my music, you can just Google Late Again musician or Late Again artist. You're gonna find all my stuff on Spotify, Apple Music, all streaming services. My Instagram is Late Againsta. It's a silly pun with the word Instagram, so Late Again STA. It's very hard to get a handle when your name is Late Again. I've only realized that later on. My website is imlateagain.com, and yeah, I'm probably forgetting something, and my manager is going to be angry at me, but that's about it.
We'll just say we were too distracted by the crazy humor that came out in this episode, okay? Dude, it's been such a pleasure. We'll definitely be in touch, okay?
But I'd love the interview, Mo. Really nice to meet you, and I'll see you soon.
You got it. Take care, dude.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.
Hey, if you've made it this far, don't forget to follow the socials on the screen or in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you next week.